Today, we are going to start a new topic that is fiscal policy. We had already completed the series of monetary policy, and fiscal policy and monetary policy they goes hand in hand basically. So let's start the topic. So let's begin. What is fiscal policy? What is the meaning of fiscal policy? How it will be different from monetary policy? How it works? How it is passed means how it is executed in country like India, right? What are the key instruments and types of fiscal policy? This is something we are going to do. So to understand what exactly fiscal policy is, I want to take you to my handwritten notes. So you'll get to see my notes as well. So if I tell you one more thing about myself, guys, I had given mains for civil services as well. So don't worry, you are in safe hands. So I'll let you know how to prepare good notes as well with this video itself. So guys, these are the flow charts. So you don't have to write sentences, guys. You just make a flow chart so that it becomes easy to understand. And why I had made this flow chart in half page, means this side and this side, both ways, because our vision is just straight. We can't see long pages. In the same way, the newspapers are also written and the magazines are also written in a similar way, in the same pattern. Means they start from here and then they go this side of the page. Why? Because it increases our speed of reading basically. So that is why whenever you're writing in a page, try to cut it half and write half side, then another half side of the page. This will increase your reading speed. And these flowcharts are very helpful in terms of revision as well. So it was just an extra tip to all of you. What is a fiscal policy, guys? Fiscal policy is issued by government, by the finance minister, whereas monetary policy was issued by the central bank. There are two different things. Now, fiscal policy have a different agenda, whereas monetary policy have a different agenda. We'll discuss that in the coming slides. What is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy tells, where government is going to spend the money and from where government is going to take the money. Means it will tell about the revenue and the expenditures of the government. In very simple terms, if I tell you, fiscal policy is the budget of India that comes in February. So if there is another term for fiscal policy, that would be budget. Right now, what things are decided in fiscal policy? From where the government will be taking the money, and from and where that money will be utilized in a better way, means expenditures of the government. It could be in real estate, it could be infrastructure, it could be health, wellness, and it could be many other ways. So let's see how it works. Let's see how the government takes money, from where the revenue comes from. So government earns the money basically from taxation, and taxation plays a very important role in wealth distribution. Means we take the money from middle class and rich people and we use that money for the development of everybody, and especially the people who are citizens who are below the poverty line, who don't have access to good financial services. So we tend to give them good services. So it is, wealth is distributed and wealth is utilized in a better way in a country basically. So in India, there are two types of taxes. I hope you are aware of this thing, and we are going to discuss taxation in coming slides as in coming classes as well. Direct tax and indirect tax. Direct taxes are those taxes which are directly imposed on the incomes. So incomes could be income tax, corporate tax, capital gain tax. These are just few examples of the taxation. Then comes the indirect tax. GST is so famous, right? There's so many memes in Instagram nowadays on GST. So GST, customs, stamp duty. So these are indirect taxes because it is imposed on the sales of of the products. It could be fuel, alcohol, tobacco, on sales of other goods as well. So this is GST, right? So direct and indirect taxes, they bring inflow of cash to the government. Means this is the main source of revenue for the government. So government collects money from all of you. So it is something mandatory which you have to do. You have to pay basically. Now, if the government had collected the money, right, so they must be using it somewhere, right? So government uses that money. It could be, in health, building hospitals, primary healthcare centers, education colleges, educational institutes like colleges, universities, schools, defense expenditure as well. capital expenditure for infrastructure, means building roads, building, big infrastructure for the citizen, for the betterment of the citizen. It could be airports, it could be seaports, anything like that, right? It could be direct benefit transfer as well, means, government is sending money directly to farmers nowadays, to poor people. So that is also part of this. So what exactly it does? So whenever government is using that money, it can affect the demand in the country. Means, see, government took the money, and it is huge amount of money, guys. It's not small amount of money. So as we had discussed already in the money supply chapter in monetary policy, that now government can use that money by increase the money supply in the economy. And once the money supply is increased in the economy, it can lead to growth. It can lead to increased demand itself. So money supply affects the aggregate demand within the economy. I hope this is clear to everybody. So fiscal policy is, in very simple terms, is the budget of the country, and government takes money in forms of taxes, the expenditure, and uses that money in expenditure for the welfare of the society, basically. This is fiscal policy. But the key player over here is not central bank. It is finance ministry, government. So over here, government has to make the citizens happy as well. It is also called as popular policy, means they have to bring some schemes to make people happy so that they vote the government again. So this is very important thing I want you keep in mind, means fiscal policy focus, it has some biasness towards being popular, some biasness to come back in power again, means that is why fiscal policy have some biasness, whereas monetary policy could be more strict as compared to fiscal policy. This thing you have to keep in mind. We will be discussing this towards the end of the slides, right? Now, so next question that should come in your mind, that okay, sir, government is raising money from people, but where that money is going, right? And how government is managing the money. For example, you are working somewhere, you earn salary. So, your employer, he doesn't give you salary on cash in your hand. They send that money in your bank account. So even you being an individual, you are having bank accounts. Similarly, government also has bank accounts where the entire money is transferred. So this bank account, these bank, they are basically three main types of bank accounts: Consolidated Fund of India, Public Account of India, and Contingency Fund of India. So let's have insight of these accounts as well for the better clarity, guys. Now, Consolidated Fund of India is the main account where the entire money goes into this. Means all the money collected from the taxes, all the loans which government, Indian government has taken. It could be from IMF, it could be from World Bank. So whatever loan, international loan the government had taken, it will also be deposited in the same account. And all the day-to-day income received by, for example, our PSUs, like for example BSNL, Postal Services of India, the entire money, you might have seen, when you do recharge of BSNL, right, that money goes to BSNL first, and that money is at the end reflected in the Consolidated Fund of India. So whatever money you are spending in government organizations, that money at the end is going over here. I hope this is clear to everyone. So it means that government can withdraw this money any point of time. Is it so? Means like this, government can misuse the money as well. Means it's not small amount of money. It is the collection of the entire country, all the citizens of the country. So to withdraw the money from this, government has to take approval from the entire parliament, guys. So it's not easy to withdraw money from this account. Means it is an account where audits also takes place, and it is having, everyone is having eye on this account. Where the money is coming from, where the money is going. You can't misuse it. So things are becoming better and better as we have become more digital. I hope this is clear. Now then comes the public account of India. So this is very simple, guys. So if you're a government employee, you must be having some salaries, you must be receiving some pensions. So all those day-to-day activities, day-to-day, salaries, pensions, and all these things, those things are tackled by this public account of India. Again, this account of India, you can't just withdraw the money like that. Government has to show to the parliament that how much salaries, pensions they are giving. So all this data, trust me guys, all this data, You can see in the fiscal policy all this data, where the money is coming from, how much money government is spending, at which sector it is spending. So you can see all these things, all the information of these accounts, financial statements of this account, and this account in fiscal policy. That is why it is important. So even being a citizen of India, you can check it out. This is also a very good thing to, being a citizen of India, you should be aware of these things. Now, last account, again, it is contingency fund of India. As the name itself is suggesting, you contingency means some emergency comes. So similarly, the way we should also have some contingency amount in our bank, so that if some emergency comes, then we should have some in hand cash. Similarly, government also has a contingency fund in case of floods, in case of earthquakes, in case of corona COVID crisis. So we use this fund, right? And this fund, since it is an emergency, so there is no need to go to parliament. You can use this fund just by the permission of president as well. So you can directly use this fund in the case of emergency. Yes, definitely afterwards you have to show it to parliament. After that, you have to show it to public that where we use it. But generally, yes, contingency fund can be used from the permission of the president. So I hope this is clear to everyone. So all the financial statements of all these funds you can get it in fiscal policy. So that is why fiscal policy is very important. From where the money is coming and where the money is being utilized, that we can see from these financial statements for the of these accounts. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now coming to the goals of fiscal policy, first we need to understand how fiscal policy works, how it is executed in a country like India. That is very important to understand, guys. Now let's give you a practical example how it works basically. Because you might have seen, let's give an example for before I proceed further. For example, you are planning a trip to Goa or you are planning a trip to Vaishno Devi, right? And you're a school student, you need some money. The first thing that you would do, you will go to your father and ask money from your father that I am going to Goa or I am going to Vaishno Devi. Please, dad, give me some money. First thing your dad would ask you that what is your budget? What is your estimate? How much money do you require? Right? So this is the first step in the budget. Since it is budget, so we are discussing on budget. So first thing that your dad would be asking you how much money you require. So for fiscal policy, for the budget itself, the process doesn't start in the month of February, as as the fiscal policy is issued in the last week of February. But it doesn't start there. It starts just so many months before. How it works? All the ministries means health ministry, education ministry, and all the ministries, they have departments. So all the departments, all the clerks, for example, let's take example of education ministry. We are from education background, so we'll discuss on about education ministry. This triangle is a hierarchy. All the clerks, all the teachers, all the administration staff, everyone is working over here. They all will give their day-to-day requirements to the head of the departments, and then head of the departments will give it to the head of the entire organization. And who is heading the entire department, guys? These are the IS officers. So IS officers, they are very powerful, guys. So IS officer would be handling entire education department of the country. He is secretary. Secretary education means he is the highest body, highest powerful person. Now he will make a requirement, he will make a final compilation of the requirement that we need, for example, 1 crore rupee, just for an example. He will send this requirement to his minister, that is education minister. Now, education minister will see, okay, my department requires 1 crore rupees. So it is starting from bottom, guys, and then it is going upward. It is bottom up approach. Then IS will give it to minister. So ministers, IS is a permanent seat, but minister is chosen by us. These are the ministers who are chosen by democratic rules, by democratic voting, right? So they will change after every 5 years. So this minister will check the okay that that education department requires 1 crore rupee. He will again check and he will give it to finance minister then. Then finance minister will also read, okay, education department requires 1 crore rupee. And then this finance minister will present this 1 crore rupee demand in parliament. I have got the point. So see, there are so many checks and balances. First check and balance is IAS, then check and balance, then next check is done by minister, then finance minister, and at the end, all 360 MPs who are sitting in the parliament, they also read the requirements of the ministry. This is just similar to when you were going to Vaishno Devi or Goa, you ask money from your father. Now, once you ask the money from your father would say, "Let me ask from mother." Your means your mother. Let me ask from your grandparents. So there's so many checks and balances so that you don't misuse the money. Are you ever getting the point? So this is important, guys, because by doing this, we are checking, is there any misuse of the money or not? Then what will happen? This finance minister will present this demand of the ministry to the parliament, and this demand is the term for this demand is called as money bill. We are not going to discuss this, guys, but I'm just going to tell you demand means they will in Hindi the word would be that प्रस्ताव रखेंगे, वो प्रस्ताव रखेंगे means they will keep their request in front of parliament that this ministry requires 1 crore rupee. On a similar note, guys, all the ministries, all the departments of the country, they will send their demands via same process, and that demand will reach to finance minister. So the budget have not approved yet. It has the process have started, and it has started 6 months before. I'm not saying it is happening in February. The entire process have started just many months before the when the budget is being presented. So just imagine, guys, it's a long process. It's not an easy process, right? So when you are going to Vaishno Devi or Goa, you just don't ask money just the previous day. You will ask money 1 month back so that you can plan accordingly. The same happens over here itself. Then what would happen, right? Let's see how the next things will work out. Let's see the process first, guys. Now, this finance minister will present it to the parliament. Now, parliament, what would happen? They will read the budget, read the demands of, all the demands of all the departments. They will be reading that, right? Now, what would happen afterwards, guys? You know, what would happen afterwards? So, what is happening that, for example, if your dad gets the salary in 10th of every month, generally people get salary first of every month. But for an example, just say your dad gets salary on 10th of every month. So there are 10 days left in between, means from 1st to 10th, anyhow, you have to manage the expenses, right? Means so for those 10 days, what you would do generally, that you will manage the expenses by just distributing some basic amount of expenses so that, let me explain the story in a different way. Your dad, there are two fathers, for example, father number one, father number two. Father number one gets the salary first of every month. So the budget starts from first of every month. So everybody in the family gets a pocket money exactly on the first of every month, right? But just imagine there is family number two who is getting the same amount of funds, but the father is getting salary on the 10th, right? So their budget starts from 10th. So what would they do first 10 initial days? So what the father would do, he will distribute some minimal amount to everybody. It's not a pocket money, it's just a minimum survival amount. So that people, all the family members, they survive for those 10 days. So this minimal amount, the same process works in budget as well. How it works, basically. For example, this department, education department, as we had discussed in the previous this example, this education department wanted 1 crore rupee. They submitted to finance minister, and then finance minister submit this demand in terms of money bill to parliament. Now, parliament will take 2 months at least to approve the entire budget. Means the budget approval of the budget, guys, it takes at least 1 or 2 months. So what this department will do without money, guys? All the departments needs money. So what they will do, they will give some minimal amount to all the departments. If the demand was 1 crore rupee, so what finance minister and the parliament will do, first thing they will do vote of account. Vote of account means they will give some minimal amount of money to all the department. It means, for example, out of 1 crore, they will give 5 lakh or 10 lakh rupee. So that for those 1 or 2 months, their expenses are settled. They don't have to worry, right? 1 crore rupee will also be passed, but it will take some time. So this is how it will be done, right? Now, what would happen over here? Once the demand is given, from all the ministries. That demand would be presented to Parliament. Now, all the ministers sitting in the Parliament, they will sit and they will read the demands, how much demand every department is making. And then the allocation process will start. Now, for example, you are going to Vaishno Devi or Goa, you are asking your father 10,000 rupee. Do you think your father will give 10,000 straight away? No. There could be a chance when your father will give you only 5,000 or maybe 6,000 or maybe 8,000. Or maybe he gives you some extra amount. But it depends. Means will he give the entire amount of money to you or not? So what your father would do, your father will discuss with your family, means your mother, your grandparents, and they all will decide that 10,000 will be too much and you may misuse the money. Let's give this gentleman or let's give you only 8,000 rupees. Are you getting the point? So there is a cut of 2,000. So the same thing happens in budget as well. This is called as cut motion. What does this cut motion means? When the demand of 1 crore rupee is being made by the education department, so and exactly the 1 crore will not be given. It may be some less amount is given, or maybe some extra is given, but that depends how the ministers behave at that point of time. So this entire process, guys, up to the approval of the budget or of the fiscal policy. First, it goes to Lok Sabha, then it goes to Rajya Sabha. It takes 2 months, guys. And you know, there are so many committees who review the budget. It's not just one day task, finance minister is going there, giving a speech, and it's done. It's not done. That is just the initiation. So all the departments they give their demand. That demand is presented to Parliament, and then Parliament thinks. So before the budget is passed, vote of account is passed. Means minimum amount of money is granted to all the departments for bare minimal survival. And afterwards, what happens towards the end that there must there could be some cut motions as well. Sometimes they deduct some money. If 1 crore is demanded, 80 lakhs are given, 90 lakhs, or maybe 95, or maybe exactly 1 crore is given. But these cut motions are also decided. So that is why the budget is a long process, and this is how the entire budget takes place. I hope this is clear to everybody. So cut motion is when some amount which it was demanded, that is some amount is deducted from that. Means exactly the same amount is not given. So this is called as cut motion. I hope this is clear, and the entire budget concept is clear to you now. What are the goals of fiscal policy? See, guys, fiscal policy and monetary policy generally they have similar goals generally, but there are few things which are quite different from each other. So let's see first what are the main goals of fiscal policy. See, guys, if government is taking money from you, so government must use that money somewhere, right? Just take an example of a grandfather or your father. Whenever he or when your grandfather or your father earns money, how he utilizes the money? He may give you good clothes, good education, good guitar session, fees for your guitar session, your swimming, your gym session, or your some hobby or some tuition fee like that, good clothes. So they are using that money for your welfare. Similarly, government of India tends to use this money for the welfare of the country. It is economic growth and development, right? Price stability means they tend to control the inflation. How they will try to control the inflation? Sometimes they'll give subsidies. So subsidies are not free, guys. Someone is paying. You know, if you are getting free bus service, free metro service, for example, free hospital service, free medicines in hospital, free education in schools and colleges, but someone is paying for that money. So that money is from fiscal policy, from the budget itself, right? Reducing the poverty and inequality. How? Similar way. Narega is also part of that. Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Scheme, that is also part of that. Uh, Manrega means. Apart from this, you can say free hospitals, free health services, free education. So this is government is trying to reduce the inequality. Infrastructure development means your father is earning money and he builds a home. Governments take the money from you, they build they build the entire infrastructure of India. Sustainable development, again, this we had already discussed, but sustainable development is they use the money for the with a long vision. Earlier, we used to had 5 year plans. So that is for sustainable thing itself. And financial inclusion means when everyone is part of the growth. I hope this is clear. So for fiscal policy, just imagine government is head of the family, head of India, right? So they must and they will be using this money for the betterment of the country. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now, this is very important, guys. Type of fiscal policy. Let's understand this thing again from a small diagram. So, guys, this is business cycle, and we had already discussed business cycle, what exactly it is. So these are the phases of business cycle. Trough, crust. So this phase when the growth rate is high, and this phase when the growth rate is low. Generally, if you ask me, sir, how good a fiscal policy should be, fiscal policy, business cycle, and monetary policy, they all go hand in hand. So being investment banking student, being student of finance and economics, you should have an eye on business cycle first. Then what is happening in interest rates of monetary policy. According to that, you can figure out what government is going to do in terms of fiscal policy. For example, this is the time when the growth rate is highest in a country, right? This is the peak. Once it is the growth rate is high as per the business cycle, it means money supply is high, demand is very high, people are buying a lot of stuff, it is increasing the inflation. So government would try to control it. So to control inflation, government would tend to decrease the money supply. And to decrease money supply, what government would do? Increase the taxes. Income tax, sale tax, corporate tax, these all taxes they will be increasing. Now, if the taxes are increased, now you have to pay more amount of income tax. So I will suck the money from you, from the economy. Now you won't have the money to spend. So demand will go down, inflation will go down, and this is how the growth cycle will revert. So that is why I told you monetary policy, business cycle, and fiscal policy, they should go hand in hand with each other. Sometimes one is outcome of another, some another is outcome of first one. So these can be vice versa, these can be linear, or these can be overlapping as well sometimes. Now, government will decrease infrastructure spending because government spending means if I am government, I am giving you money to build more infrastructure projects to capital to increase the capital of the country. So what would happen because of this? This will increase money supply. So government would tend to decrease the money supply. So government will decrease infrastructure spending. I hope this is clear to everyone. And whenever the business cycles are low, at the lowest, right? So government needs to boost the demand. So to boost the demand, government wants you to spend more. And to spend more, you should have some money. Money supply should be high. So government will make it liberal, expansionary. They will lower the taxes and they will raise their spending. Now, if I lower the taxes, now you have a lot of money in hand. So earlier, if the tax bar was 7 lakh, if it goes to 15 lakh, which government is planning next year, maybe it happens. So from 7 to 15, you will have 2 or 3 lakhs rupees extra. You can buy cars, you can buy automobiles, new homes. So it will and encourage the spending. So spending will increase. So lower taxation will take place. Government will also raise spending. Government will give more contracts. Government will build more infrastructure projects. So why that will be beneficial for a country? That would be beneficial because that will increase the money supply within a country. I hope this is clear to everybody. Okay. So if the money supply will increase, again the demand will increase. The growth will also increase and it will move towards upward side. So this is how there are two types of contractionary policy, generally contractionary and expansionary. These are the two types of fiscal policies. One is neutral. Neutral means there is no change as such. So let's discuss it from the slide itself. So expansionary fiscal policy is to stimulate the economic growth. And how economic growth can be stimulated? By increasing money supply. And how the money supply can be increased? By giving some relaxation to people by relaxation in taxes. So tools, government will increase the tax, increase the spending, government will decrease the tax. I hope this is clear. The impact of it on economy would be this will increase the demand. So how it is increasing? I am getting more money is left over to me. Surplus money is left over because I have some extra money left over from the tax. So that money will be used for more demand. More demand means more industries, more startups, mean more jobs, and more money supply. I hope this is clear to everybody. A contractionary fiscal policy is to control inflation, to control money supply. Tools would be government will decrease the spending and the taxes would be increased. I hope this is clear to everyone. What will be the impact? Demand will go down. Demand will go down, economy will also go down, inflation will also go down. So this is how fiscal policy is also affecting the economy of the country, or the similar way the monetary policy would have done. But the way of doing it is different, and way of doing in monetary policy is different, as simple as that. Right? Now, neutral fiscal policy, what exactly it means? Neutral means there are no much changes in interest rate, in taxation, and there is no change in expenditure of the government. Things are stable. So objective is to maintain the stability. Characteristics: no significant change in any taxation or the expenditures of the government. In spending, there's no change as such. So it is equal. It will stay in equilibrium. It is neutral. So generally, government tends to, it stays neutral as such multiple times. But whenever there is a change, the change would be either expansionary or contractionary. I hope this is clear to everybody. No doubts. No. Again, the thing is that what will be different type of policy, and what will be the different approaches of the government in the different scenarios of economy. Means when the economy is highest, what government would do; when the economy is at its lowest, what government should do and would do. Right? Now let's see how it works. So this part is done. This part is done. Accounts are already done. This is also done. Money bills are done. Okay. Now let's see what are the things which are present in a budget. What are the things you can find in a fiscal policy? First of all, guys, fiscal policy is a financial statement of government. Financial statement of government accounts. This is the first thing. In a budget, in a fiscal policy, we have 3 years data. I mean, just imagine, guys, 3 years financial statements are present over there. Previous year data, this year expected data, and the next upcoming year proposed data. So budget is not just for 1 year, guys. So if the budget is presented today, so whatever happened, wherever government spent their money in previous year, that would also be mentioned. What are their plans for this year? That would also be mentioned. And what are their plans after this year, next year? That data would also be mentioned. So whatever happened in past, whatever will be happening in present, and whatever will be happening in future as well. So 3 years data is given. So if the budget is being presented in 28th February 2019, so the data that would be, 2017-18 financial year, 2018-19 financial year, 2019 and 20 as well. So entire data is mentioned in this, because it takes time for the budget to pass generally. So the thing is that it takes generally 1 or 2 months to, budget get approved from the parliament for those 2 months, right? All the departments, they need some minimal amount of survival amount, means some pocket money they require. So this amount is already granted. Means government grants this without any discussion. Means some minimal amount is already granted. If in a family a father is earning the salary on 10th of every month, so first 10 days of the month, they will be doing some minimal expenditure. So that for that, father will distribute some amount of money to everybody, 1,000 or 2,000 rupee to all the family members. This is not the complete pocket money. This is a minimal. They could minimal amount that would be required to, survive on those 10 days. Similarly, all some advance money is given to all the departments for the bare minimum survival. I hope this is clear to everyone. Budget generally have two parts. One is revenue part, another is expenditure part. Revenue means from where the money is coming from, expenditure from to where this money will be used, right? So budget generally is, laid by the finance minister in the parliament in both the houses. First in Lok Sabha, then it goes to Rajya Sabha. This is the annual financial statement of government of India, guys. Just remember this thing. This is a money bill. Money bill is, in Hindi the word would be प्रस्ताव रखा जाता है. Money bill is a bill. Bill is just a request in very simple terms, right? And it is presented in the last working day of February, right? So it has three financial statements: financial statement of previous year, financial statement of ongoing year, and financial statement of the coming year, following year. So previous, estimated, and proposed for next year. So you can see multiple amount of data on this. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now, there are three types of budgets basically. Two types of budget. Budget is the spending for 12 months. So whatever spending government is expected to do in next 12 months, that is done in simple budget, in a budget basically. There's one more thing, that is interim budget. Interim budget, when the when government is supposed to stay for just very few months, and government is about to change in future. For those 3 months, 6 months, or 8 months, government need to do some expenditure. So some minimal amount of money is used. It's not a complete budget. It's just, some minimal amount of budget is given to all the departments so that they can survive. That's it. So this is called as interim budget. I hope this is clear to everyone. Now, in fiscal policy, there are different scenarios. It is just related to what are types of fiscal policies. So whenever recession would come, recession means demand is lowest. Recession means when money supply is not optimum, people are not having good jobs. So what government would do? Government will increase spending. Government will give more contracts to people to build roads and all that. So once the more contracts are given, what people would do? People will get more jobs in those contracts. They will Government will give some tax cuts as well. Tax will be decreased so that money is saved and people can buy more stuff. Once people will start buying more stuff, what would happen over here? Again there will be a push, and there will be a boom in the economy. It will have a buzz effect in the economy. So this is how a fiscal policy can be expansionary during the recession days. In inflation, we have to do some contrary things. How? Inflation means people having a lot of money. People are happy, they are working, employment is at their peak, demand is in the peak. Because of that, inflation is very, very high. To control this inflation, right, government will try to suck the money from you. So government will increase the taxes. Government will decrease the spending, means in all the PSUs, government will decrease it so that people get less job. Government will give less contracts, and because of that, the inflation will go down. So such kind of policy would be contractionary fiscal policy. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now, next is economic growth. So if government wants more economic growth, so if it is neutral, if economic growth is already going well, so fiscal policy could be neutral as well. Supply side shocks, guys, also can be done by using the same thing. The same policy was done during the Corona times, pandemic times. Because what happens once the entire supply is really disrupted, demand will be disrupted. So government will do some kind of adjustment in the fiscal policy to give supply side shocks as well. So they will bring some new rules in terms of what people can sell, what people can buy. The best example was in COVID times, when government tried to when people were hoarding the sanitizers. So government had to bring new rules to prevent that supply disruption. Basically, I hope this is clear to everyone. So what are the challenges that a fiscal policy faces, and those are faced in fiscal policy, guys? The main challenge I told you in the beginning of the class, that fiscal policy is basically a political document. Why? Let me tell you. If finance minister does something wrong, recently, there are so many memes which are floating that finance minister is sucking the blood of people. With all due respect, I'm saying finance minister is, you know, imposing a lot of taxes. What is the sentiment of the people? People are not happy, right? And if people become unhappy, they may not vote for the political party because of the same reason. So what would happen over here? The fiscal policy generally sometimes is used to make people happy, because it is the only power government is having. Financially, it can affect the lives of people. Generally, fiscal policies are made to people happy, but sometimes when it makes people unhappy, it has very negative repercussions as well. So in fiscal policy, the important and the most important drawback and the challenge is it is time consuming. It comes once in a year, that too in February. On contrary, monetary policy comes every quarter, right? So fiscal policy has a time lag, recognition lag, implementation lag, impact, political constraints. Why? See, it will take 2 months to pass. Who will pass? Parliament. So first of all, there is a time lag. 2 months to at least pass it. Approval needs 2 months. Then once it is approved, implementation also takes a lot of time. Means the money distributed to all departments, then the money from department goes to people. The penetration is very slow. and then you will get to see the impact after 6 months or 1 year maybe, or after 8 months. Such a long time, guys. And that too, it has many political constraints because sometimes government has to give free bus services. Government has to give, free, that culture, freebie culture. Though that is also a bad thing generally, but government has to do it. These are the political constraints, guys. So fiscal policy, budget is a good tool for the growth of the nation, but it should have a good agenda. The agenda should only be this, that we need growth in a country. So there are many political constraints over here. There are many political constraints. Because of that, government has to step back in many good things and sometimes have to take bad decisions as well. I hope, because they have to make people happy, right? Now, crowding out effect means, it can segregate people. Segregate means sometimes fiscal policy could be more focused towards middle class, sometimes lower class, sometimes, so they can crowd out people, they can make groups within groups. It can increase the national debt. This is going to, we are going to study in the next slide. Basically, we are going to discuss this thing. It affects it. It is having a good role as such in employment. But generally, guys, if we tend to give more freebies and more, free stuff to people, we can't use that money in infrastructure. Means if I'm distributing the money free of cost to everybody, what would be the negative impact of that? That instead of that free distribution, I could have used that money building a hospital, school, or college. Just see. So wise decisions are very important in fiscal policy. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now, revenue mobilization, that is also a challenge. Means from one department to another department, taking the income tax, you know, collecting income tax, all collecting all the taxes, that is also very challenging. Using the same tax in a better way in some specific direction, specific organization or specific department, that is also very difficult. Sometimes you have to spend more on education than on agriculture. Sometimes you have to spend on, you can say, Mars mission, or Chandrayaan mission. So some things could be more important, something could be less important. So again, mobilization of the funds is very difficult. First, to collect the funds is very difficult. Then to utilize the funds up to ground level, it's again very difficult, guys. I hope this is clear to everybody. So these are few challenges. Now, this is something we need to understand. This is very, very important, guys. What if government is having more expenditure than what it is receiving? Let me reiterate myself. For example, Mr. A is doing job. His salary is 20,000. This is the income, revenue what he is getting. But he is having expenditure of 50,000. How would he survive? This 20,000 what he was getting, and he is using 50,000, 30,000 extra. Same could happen with the country as well, with government as well. Government could have revenue of 1 crore rupee, just for an example, and they are spending 20 lakh rupee extra, 50 lakhs rupee extra, 2 crore or 3 crore, which is much, much more than the revenue they are collecting. This thing is called as fiscal deficit or deficit. Means when the revenue is less than the expenditure, when the expenditure is more than revenue, the fiscal deficit arises. This deficit is not good. It could be only good if government is using this expenditure in the growth of the nation, like building infrastructure, building schools, hospitals, like that, roads. That's fine. Because after some time, that money would come in. Means more roads will, building more roads, construction of roads will give people employment, and at the end country is growing. But if this expenditure is on useless things like marketing, political marketing, like traveling of MPs, MLAs, like distributing freebies, that could have a repercussions in long run, guys. Let's see how it works. Now before this, we need to understand, for example, after the budget is approved, after 1 year, the expenditure is very high and the revenue is less, and government needs more money, and budget is already done. Next budget is after 3 or 4 months. Now, what government can do? Just think, guys. I want you to think, pause, and think. Means next budget, for the next budget, still there are 3 or 4 months. Last budget is already done. The money of the government is exhausted. Means the revenue is already, government has utilized all the money. Now, in the middle of the year, what government can do? Just think, pause, and come back. Now, for the immediate requirements, what government can do? So, what government can ask RBI to print currency because they're out of currency. They need to pay. They need to pay back their interest. They need to pay back the money. Means if someone is holding your collar and asking his money back, which some if I have taken loan from somebody and the person comes to me asking his money back is holding my collar, what should I do? I have to give his money back on immediate basis. Same if someone is asking money back from government, so government what they can do? They can print the currency from RBI. This is called as monetized deficit. Means monetized means the currency is being printed. But if RBI is printing currency, so RBI will take it as a debt to government. So government took loan or debt from RBI in terms of printing of the currency. Yes, government is utilizing the currency, but one day government has to give it back to RBI. Just for an example, this is debt number one, right? This is called as monetized deficit or monetized debt. Number two, sovereign bonds. Very important, guys. I want you to I want you to see the world map. I want you to give an example. For example, America needs money in the middle of the year. Budget already passed. Previous year, next year is having still 4 or 5 months. Now, America needs money. It can print the currency, which they had already done. Now, again, they can't ask from their Fed, from the Central Bank of America. They can ask money from them. Now, what they will do? They will issue a bond, a piece of paper with a guarantee of Government of America that we will return your money after 1 year, 2 years. They will raise the money. Let's take example of India. So India invested in these bonds. For example, they wanted some money, so they raised money from India. That okay, India, give us some money on loan, and we will return the money after 1 year. So India invested a lot, insane amount of money in America. Now, after 1 year, they are unable to return it. Then India's money will get stuck. So these are called as sovereign bonds. When one country issues bonds, when one country raises the loan or raises the debt from the entire world. So similarly, in America, all the countries of the world they invest in sovereign bonds. And if the economy of America collapses, the entire world would have to face the repercussions or have to face tough times, basically. That is why one country is dependent on another country. Similarly, India also issues sovereign bonds. China, every country issues sovereign bonds. So Nepal's government invests in India, Sri Lanka invests in India, even America invests in India. We invest in other countries. So it is an exchange that always takes place. We are investing in their country, they are investing in our country like that. But it means world is linked with each other. So we can raise money, a country can raise money from the other parts of the countries, other parts of the world, means other countries as well. So because of that, what would happen? I am taking loan in terms of sovereign bonds from other countries, my neighborhood or my friendly countries, like, right? This is step number two. Step number three, I can raise money instead of going to foreigners asking money from them. I can raise money from my own domestic country. Means I can raise, government securities and T-bills, and I can raise government bonds as well to the people of India, and they can they can give money to me on immediate basis. See, guys, when the government is out of money, revenues, all the money which they have earned from loans or from taxes, that is exhausted. So these are the ways, by which government can raise money on immediate basis. So everything is going fine. Government raised money, and next budget came and they returned all the money back. Things are okay with this. But just imagine after the budget came, and government was having a lot of debt, a lot of debt. They printed a lot of currency. Sovereign bonds are also very, very high. Debt in terms of sovereign bonds was very high. Domestic debt was also very high. And the taxes which they collected, which was not equivalent to this debt, then the governments will collapse. This is how the government collapses. When the debt keeps on piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up, and the taxes which they collect, they are unable to pay it back. So that is why they don't have any option to, the same thing happened in Greece. I want you do a homework to see the, financial condition in Greece, right? So the same thing happened. government started taking a lot of, you can say, debt in terms of printing currency, bonds, sovereign bonds, and domestic bonds as well. And the taxation was very bad, in very bad condition. Collection of tax was also in very bad condition. Utilization of the funds, what was collected from those taxes was also very in very bad shape. So they were unable to pay back the money. Just imagine, guys, in the same story, when the United States would be unable to pay back money to the world in the sovereign bonds, India's money, the people, African countries' money, money of European countries, they all it will get stuck. So this is called as debt crisis. Debt crisis means when a country takes a lot of debt and unable to pay it back, right? So this is called as deficit financing as well. Once they are out of money, when the government is out of money, they have to finance themselves. So these are the ways government can finance themselves. I hope this is clear to everybody. But you have to pay it back one day. If you are able to pay it back, fine. Government takes for it. But if it keeps piling up, it becomes very, very difficult for the governments. So how much fiscal deficit is right deficit, guys? Generally, it should be up to 60%. Means 50% is fine. Half of the GDP should be okay, but it should be as minimal as possible. So, being an economic student, whatever government is saying, you have to keep an eye on this. I mean, are the deficits increasing? If they are increasing, how much, every year they are increasing? Secondly, where the expenditure is taking place. Is it in useful direction or just misuse of the money? So you have to keep an eye on this. One more term that was mentioned over here was masala bonds. It is very interesting, guys. India is related to masala and spices. India was the country of spices, basically. So these are the bonds which country issues to raise money in terms of rupee only, no dollars. So these are the bonds issued internationally to raise money internationally, but in forms of rupee. What is the benefit for us? So the forex fluctuations, the currency fluctuation doesn't bother that much because we are raising money in terms of rupee and we have to pay it back in rupee only. Means the interest which we have to pay back. So if we raise money in dollars, so if dollar appreciates, so we have to return in dollars. So that appreciation will hit us in a negative way. So that thing we prevent in this types of bonds. So these are international bonds, but we raise money in terms of rupee as well. So it's interesting to know. So this part is done. Sovereign bonds is a very important thing, and debt crisis very very important. Guys, debt is a tool, and debt is very bad if it piles up, and it can bring collapse of the world economy, and it can bring recession in the entire world. So debt is where deficits and the debts are very very critical things that you should have an eye on. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now, what is the difference between monetary policy and fiscal policy? Guys, this is very interesting and you should be knowing this thing, guys. Fiscal policy is issued by government, finance minister. Monetary policy was done by central bank of a country. In India, it is RBI. It is done every quarter. Fiscal policy is once in a year, that too in February, end of the February. Monetary policy, the tools of monetary policy are interest rates. And using the interest rates, they tend to regulate the money supply. We had discussed this thing in the previous PPTs, previous classes, but still, interest rates tend to control money supply or regulate money supply. And by regulating money supply, RBI tend to regulate the inflation of the country, and they can regulate the growth in the country as well. But in fiscal policy, it is all about the revenues, the taxation part, the collection of the money, means how much taxes should be imposed, and how they should be collected. And then once the money is collected in all the accounts of the government of India, how it should be spent, means how it should be utilized in a better way. Better way means for the betterment and welfare of the society. It should not be misused. This is fiscal policy. The thing is that, guys, over here, this thing is very important. It is a political document. So politics is all about coming back to power, making people happy, getting more and more votes. So sometimes to make people happy, we have to give some freebies. We have to forgive loans of some businessmen. We have to forgive loans of sometimes farmers. Sometimes we have to give them that basic, uh, minimum. I forgot the short form, but they have to forgive the loans of the farmers as well, right? So this is bad in many terms because it can be misused. But if the general objective is positive, then fiscal policy can bring good amount of change. On contrary, monetary policy is fast to apply. It is not a political document, but can have the influence of government, can have the influence of finance minister as well, because RBI is part of government only. That we had already discussed in the previous slides. But it is quick. It is implemented every quarter. It is implemented once in a year. The process is quite delayed because you have to first get it approved. First, the departments give the demand to finance to IS officers, the secretary. Secretary give demand to the, for example, education minister. Education minister will give demand to finance minister. Similarly, all the departments, all the ministries follow the same thing. Then finance minister will offer it to parliament. Parliament, all the MPs will read it, and they will take at least 2 months for the approval, right? Once the approval is done, it will take time to get implemented. So already we had passed 2 months by just reading and by the process. So it's a delayed process. Once the money is distributed and allocated, we'll get to know about the results after much time, because the trickling effect is very less. Trickling effect is too slow. Means to penetrate the 1 rupee from finance minister to the ground level, it will take a lot of time. So that is why fiscal policy is delayed sometimes. I hope this is clear. So it's a political document. So what could be the conclusion of this chapter, guys? If fiscal policy is utilized in a better way, if the fiscal policy, monetary policy, and the business cycle, they are aligned. They are aligned in a good way with the goal and objective to bring the growth of the nation. They can be a good tool, definitely a good tool for the growth. But if fiscal policy is in one direction, monetary policy in another direction, it will be too difficult. What I wanted to say, if fiscal policy increases money supply and monetary policies tend to decrease the inflation, so inflation is dependent on money supply, what will happen? They will have different directions. Fiscal policy will increase money supply, monetary policy is decreasing money supply, so they are going opposite to each other. So they should be good, there should be a good alignment amongst all of them. That would be good for any nation, basically. I hope this is clear to everybody. Now, this was the conclusion. It should be effective, it should be aligned, and it should have a good objective for the good, that is the growth of the nation.